against him. And we're going to have a clip of that. When you talk about the laws, understand when you talk about assault and battery, assault is threatening somebody and being able to credibly do that. And these people had masks on, they had weapons, they had shields, and one of them at least was carrying a gun. When you're carrying a gun, wearing a mask, and brandishing the gun, that's the official way, that the legal term for that. When you're carrying a gun and using and threatening somebody, either with the gun, by the way that you're holding it, or threatening them as you're holding a gun, that's called brandishing a weapon. That's called assault. And so tomorrow, Owen Schroyer is going to file a criminal complaint because the police didn't do anything about that. They let them mace other people. They got together in a big group. I mean, at one respect, it looked like a LARPers convention because that's the way the Antifa people are. But it was a very serious assault. These people were threatening violence. They were shoving him, hitting him in the back with a stick as he was trying to just get to the rally, the people who were at the rally for Kate Steinle. Remember that? The illegal immigrant who had been transported. It was either 5 or 6 times. I think he was about to be deported for the 6th or 7th time when he said he just found a gun that was laying on the bench, and the gun just went off just like in the movies. He had nothing to do with it. It wasn't premeditated murder. It wasn't even manslaughter. It was just the gun did it. The gun did it. And so still no justice for Kate Steinle. And that's what we're seeing over and over again. And no protection of anybody who isn't politically correct. There is no protection for people who are using weapons against the media, and certainly no concern about that by our weaponized media, who comes after conservatives, who come after President Trump. We're also going to give you some updates on some other stories in the news. Roger Stone will be joining us to talk about what's going on with Michael Flynn, and also Tom Arnold and other issues that have surfaced, many things coming out in the last couple of days. We have the Pentagon is now saying they're going to have their first ever audit. Well, maybe it's about time, because there's several $1 trillion missing. They even have 44,000 troops missing. How in the world do you do that? Are these, they don't even know where their troops are. They're not saying that it's classified, that they can't tell you. They're saying their destination is unknown. And this is coming out of Stars and Stripes magazine. People in the conservative media have just picked this up. This is how big the U.S. empire has grown. America has lost track of the number of wars that we're fighting. We've lost track of our soldiers just all over the place. I mean, this is the insanity that we're looking at here. Is there some way that we can ever get back to a constitutional government? Is there some way that we'll audit the Pentagon, or maybe even the politicians in Washington, D.C.? Maybe. I don't think that is going to happen. I think maybe instead of auditing the Fed, we may be able to transcend it with cryptocurrencies. It's a given that other countries are going to transcend the petrodollar. That's the only question is what's going to happen with that. Stay with us. We'll be right back. I'm David Knight. Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight on this December the 10th, 2017. Yesterday was a pretty amazing event. There was a rally in support of Kate Steinle to draw attention to that travesty that happened in San Francisco, the sanctuary city that has now given sanctuary to the murder, saying we had absolutely nothing to do with her death, even though there was a loaded gun that was stolen out of the seat of a BLM officer's car. Somehow that just went off close to this individual who was about to be deported for either the 6th or the 7th time, kept coming in. He had been convicted of multiple felonies, but he said that the gun just went off on his own, just like in the movies. He had absolutely nothing to do with it. You know, just set these things down, and they're so dangerous that the liberals think that they go off without anybody even touching them. And so they didn't even convict him of manslaughter. They just convicted him of having possession of a firearm when he wasn't supposed to have it. But when you look at this event yesterday, Owen Schroyer went to report on this here in Austin, and look at these LARPer idiots who are very violent, quite frankly. They were very intimidating. They were pushing and shoving him as he was trying to get by. They would get one side or the other. I mean, at one level, if it wasn't for the violence that we know that they are capable of, and if it wasn't for the fact that they are threatening him with one of the individuals, not having just sticks and shields and helmets and masks, but also one of the group had, at least one of the group had a rifle that he was brandishing. And I'm using that in the legal sense. When you have a weapon and you are displaying it or using it or holding that weapon as you are making threats against people, as they were against Owen, that is called brandishing a weapon. And it also is called assault, when you're making credible threats against somebody, whether it is with a stick with a nail in the end of it, or even if it's just a stick, and a group of people. He was surrounded by people. There were people in the back of him that you don't see in that video. So let's play some of this video, and I'll narrate it for the people who are listening on the radio. This is Owen Schroyer yesterday at a memorial in recognition of Kate Steinle in Austin, Texas, and the people who showed up in force were Antifa Marxists. You can see some of them wearing masks that have a hammer and sickle on it. So here's that video.
Owen Schroyer here for INFOWARS.com. I am in downtown Austin, Texas. I am about to walk into Woolridge Square here, where you have a Kate Steinle march happening that has been invaded. How are you guys doing?
INFOWARS.
I thought you'd say something like that. After all, we're trying to honor a dead person here, but that didn't stop protesters from showing up with megaphones and shouting obscenities. Hey, how you doing, man? Hey, what are you guys doing out here today?
He's not saying anything, just staring at him.
What are you guys doing out here
If you
today?
want to know how Kate Steinle killer got off with a jury, it's people like this that we have here in Austin. It's basically an adjunct of San Francisco.
You're protesting Kate Steinle? Hey, what brought you out here today, sir? You know my name, so maybe he'll talk to me. I'm just trying to talk to you guys. What's up? I'm a person, too.
So now he's doing this thing where this is very popular with the left, where they bump you. You know, you saw that with Shia LaBeouf bumping people.
What?
Excuse me, doing that thing. They did it to Alex. They're doing it to Owen. They do it everywhere.
Okay, so I guess we're both crackers. This is really strange.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
I'm
We
gonna
just
try
smile
to,
and
see if anyone
bang
will
into
call
you
me.
and say excuse me, and that's not aggressive at all.
Okay. What is?
But this is
why
where
are
it
you
is
guys so aggressive? Like, honestly, what is the big deal?
Why are these guys wearing masks?
You won't even talk to me. Like, why can't we talk? If we were,
They
if
got
we were
shields,
like
they
at a
got
bar
sticks,
or something outside
and
at a sporting event or
firearms.
something, like, we would get along.
Masks.
You would throw me out.
Of course.
You would beat my ass. If we were at a bar, you'd beat my ass.
You fucking scared now?
I'm scared.
Yeah, because your arm's fucking shaking.
My arm is shaking.
Yeah, there's a guy with his hand on the trigger,
What's wrong with me? Am I scared?
standing right behind these guys looking at Owen, and he's got a mask with a hammer and sickle on it.
We're out here with guns.
Saying, are you afraid?
So,
You should be
you know,
afraid.
And it's not like
And what?
wearing a Trump hat is a safe thing to do.
Suddenly you're against the Second Amendment?
When did I say that?
Well, you were the one that's saying
See, this is not exercising the Second Amendment. It is assault with a deadly weapon. It is brandishing a weapon. Those are felonies.
So I'm literally surrounded by a bunch of guys.
Compounded by the fact they're wearing masks because they know that they're breaking the law or about to or want to.
Trying to say, oh my gosh, look at this guy, he's scared. Are you not trying to intimidate me? Is that not your purpose out here? So all I'm trying to do is to get to the Kate Steinle march.
And as he tries to walk around them,
we're trying to honor dead people, and this is
they
what I
create
did.
a wall with their shields, their sticks, and their
What's wrong
firearms.
with you guys? Seriously.
It's kind of like the Black Knight from Monty Python.
On some sort of
None shall
pills
pass.
or anything, like pharmaceutical drugs, like what
And
is the
aggressive
deal?
like he was as well. Somebody needs to cut them down to size.
Normal behavior. Do you know that? You all are adults. You're behaving like children. You know that? You're behaving like children. Yeah, gay frogs, right. Atrazine. Why don't you read a study before you come out here and cover your face? What are you doing, dude? Aren't you a journalist? Now you're blocking my right to free speech?
Yeah, kind of like the Washington Post,
Man, you guys are
Twitter,
all
Facebook,
following me.
all those.
You
Yeah,
guys
they
are
don't.
anti-bullies.
No
What is
free
this?
speech
Now
for
you're
other
gonna try to
people.
ram me?
They
You're gonna try to
encourage
ram me with your wooden sticks here?
Weaponized people
By the
using
way,
weapons
I'm all
against the
alone
media.
out here, y'all. So do I literally have to go in here and then you guys have to assault me and get arrested by these guys? Is that what has to happen right here? Because you hate me so much, even though you don't even know me or anything about me? And you cover your faces. Why do you cover your faces? At least this guy has enough courage to not have his face covered. Why won't you guys uncover your face?
With the Peaceful Streets Project, I focus.
So are these guys not peaceful then? Yeah, don't talk to me. So you're with the Peaceful Streets Project. That's why your face is uncovered. Why is their faces covered?
So they can punch you and get away with it.
All right, here I go.
Yeah, that's right.
Here I go. Literally, they won't let me in here. This is obviously insane. Oh, my God. I can't even...
Yeah,
Folks,
we're the
I
police.
feel like I'm in
We're the
kindergarten
police.
right now.
You know, the police were Johnny on the spot
Every time I try
whenever we were there. Whenever you got people who were protesting for the right to open carry, carrying a black powder rifle, which is legal, by the way, open carry, and the police arrested those individuals.
Who are the bigots out here?
Get away from me.
But they don't care if guys with masks and firearms and sticks and shields are there. They don't care about that. Interesting.
What? Nazi scum?
Nazis are socialists just like you.
How am I a Nazi scum?
You are a Nazi scum.
What just happened to you? Who maced you?
I don't know. She ran like she maced me, and then she ran the other way.
Antifa? Was it Antifa?
Yes.
Hopefully some of these violent protesters are being arrested here. All right. We're being protected out here. Antifa's getting out of control. Antifa is now getting totally out of control here.
All right, so the police have shown up. They're walking their bicycles, which they also use kind of as shields in this particular kind of situation.
They were beating people. Are you all right, sir?
Yes.
Did you see them mace people?
I haven't seen no mace yet. I ain't smelled no.
You saw them mace people?
I saw them mace Jim Lowe, and one chick just elbowed me in the...
You got hit? You got elbowed?
Yeah, I did.
You got maced too?
Yes.
She got elbowed in the chest.
It looks like they may
by the
we got an
Antifa
arrest
people.
happening here?
They're macing people, attacking.
Wait, someone
And you know,
attacked
there's more of the Antifa people there than there are, I think,
So was it
people who were there to honor Kate Steinle
Yes. She attacked both of us.
and to draw attention
So
to
I
the
was trying to
miscarriage of
tell the
justice
man
there.
that was having a conversation with us that these people are violent, and then it happened. So this is what we expected with these people. So this is one of the Antifa members who just got arrested, and he's still telling people to F off.
Outside the car.
He's got an earpiece in. I'm wondering why that guy has an earpiece in. This is an Antifa protester out here with an earpiece in. That's very strange.
All right, if you want to see that, we've got an article up at InfoWars.com. Antifa violently protests memorial for woman killed by illegal alien. And we also have the video that is unedited, and the full video we have up on Alex Jones' channel. This is what we're seeing over and over again, and that is the attempt to intimidate people. The mainstream media doesn't care about that. We see, here's an example of this. You know, when we look at this white teen who was tortured, the guy who has an IQ of a 4-year-old, and there were 3 black people, he's been let off. Kate Steinle's murder has been let off. Not even charged with manslaughter, just let off. That's what we see happening. The death threats against the FCC chairman over net neutrality, they just leave that up. No problem. They leave that up. Meanwhile, YouTube takes down Poland, the Polish government's video exposing the migrant invasion, and say, this is bad policy. It's coming from the EU. We're not going to allow that to happen here in Poland. That's taken down by YouTube. Essentially isolated in a purgatory. They left it up, but they told people, no, you can't watch this content. Welcome back. I'm David Knight on this Sunday, December the 10th, 2017. We're going to get back to this event yesterday. It was a memorial service in honor of Kate Steinle to draw attention to the injustice that happened in San Francisco. But as you saw, if you're watching that last segment, you saw that the hateful violence of Antifa is not limited to California. We have quite a few people here in Austin that are just like that. But it's also a story of all across this country. We have the situation where the 3 black teens captured a young white teen and tortured him. He's got an IQ of a 4-year-old, tortured him, and filmed it. They thought it was great. They put it up on social media. And the judge basically let them plead guilty to a hate crime, aggravated battery, and intimidation, but let them off without any prison time. They just get community service. He said, I'm not sure that you'd come out of prison any better. Well, that's not the point. There's a punishment element. There's a message that needs to be sent that we're not going to allow you to get away with no punishment. That's the message that he's sending. Certainly, they're not going to be any better, and nobody else is going to be any better if they realize that they can take somebody with the IQ of a 4-year-old, torture them, and pay no penalty for that. 200 hours of community service, whatever that means. They dropped charges of kidnapping, which would have given them serious time, but basically give them a walk. Students, meanwhile, in a coffee shop at a university, this is in a Bronx campus. A social justice warrior got them booted out of Fordham University. They're in a coffee shop, and they had the audacity to wear a Trump Make America Great Again hat. And so that violated their safe space policy. They were thrown out of the coffee shop. They said, we weren't even talking politics. We were talking about final exams. They said, get out 5 minutes, says the worker. I'm protecting our customers. You're wearing hats that are completely violate the safe space policy. You have to go. That is the attitude and the training that results in what we just saw with these Antifa students in Austin attacking Owen Schroyer. Aggravated assault, brandishing a firearm, wearing masks while they were doing it, body blocking him, checking him, hitting him from behind, hitting him from in front, saying, excuse me, you know, the Shia LaBeouf approach. And then look what happens on social media. We've had Twitter. This is an article from Jerome Corsi this last week on INFOWARS. Twitter allowing death threats against the FCC chair, Pai, ahead of the net neutrality vote. Listen to the things that Twitter thinks are okay. Remember, they banned Roger Stone because he criticized CNN. And they leave people up. It wasn't the language that he used. It was the fact that he criticized CNN. But listen to the language that people who are threatening the FCC commissioner say, and this is okay with Twitter. They leave this up. I hope you get assassinated. Another one. I have your address. I will go to your house for answers if this passes. Another one. People will murder you. Congress, Trump, and they'll put your heads on spikes. There's already talk and people are getting ready. So if you want to live, leave our internet alone. These are the idiots who have been brainwashed by the press, brainwashed by their universities, and they feel that it is absolutely okay to be violent. And that is reinforced by the judges who let them off. The judges who let off the illegal aliens like the one that killed Kate Steinle. Here's some more tweets. We should rape his wife and tie him up with a tape logged on his mouth. Hear him cry while we have some fun. Another one. Kill yourself. Another one. Reminder, I hope bad things happen to you and your family. Another one. I hope your children get cancer. And another one. Someone needs to walk behind Ajit and inject him with bleach or introduce a meat cleaver to his skull. In short, I agree. He's a horrific person and he deserves the absolute worst. Finally, if net neutrality actually gets repealed, you will be the most hated person in America. You best delete all your social media and get plastic surgery now, because if anyone recognizes you after that, you're going to get the blank kicked in, or hopefully killed. These are probably teenagers who are not being censored by Twitter, by social media. But who gets censored? The Polish government, by YouTube. What did they say? They had a video that said Europe opens its eyes and admits that we are right, said the Polish government. The problem is connected with what the West of Europe is struggling with. Decades of a policy of multiculturalism and political correctness. Our government chooses a responsible way to fight the problem of illegal immigration. The short presentation was flagged by YouTube as being age inappropriate. That's the way that they censor. They say, well, we still left it up there, but we just flagged it as age inappropriate. Why would that be age inappropriate? Why isn't language, like we just saw on Twitter, why isn't that age inappropriate? Why do they allow ISIS videos up? Why do they allow death threats up? Why does the judiciary allow torturers of disabled teenagers to go free? They say, of course, you know, when they label it as age inappropriate, that means that you don't have any comments, it can't be shared, it can't be embedded, it doesn't get any view count, it doesn't get any user ratings, nobody can find it. We've had them do that to us for things that are not violent. It's what they call a limited state, essentially purgatory, as we point out on News Wars, purgatory for content deemed as offensive or extremist by faceless information gatekeepers. That's the weaponized media. And the weaponized media, of course, is part of the social media, because the old dinosaur media, whatever you want to call them, nobody is paying that much attention to CNN, to ABC, NBC, CBS. Where the real power is, where the real censorship must be, is on social media. And this is crony censorship. If the government were to come in and shut things down, some people might wake up. Even some liberals at that point might wake up. I don't know, maybe they wouldn't. Maybe their hatred has blinded them so much they wouldn't wake up even if the government were to directly censor people. That day is coming soon. Make no mistake about it. But they don't want to head on with anybody. What they want to do is have their corporate surrogates who operate under a position of crony capitalism. They want them to do the censorship. We've seen this before. When I've been involved with a third party wanting to get into debates, and of course we had to jump through hoops that the Democrats and Republicans never had to jump through to get on the ballot. Once on the ballot, the debates are being run by a private corporation. Usually it was a media association. Some kind of newspaper or news association would run the debates. And they would choose to exclude us arbitrarily. And we would say, how can you just, we would appeal to the government. They say, well, it's a private organization. They can do whatever they want. Who gave them that power? Oh, that would be the government run by the Republicans and the Democrats would give them the power of censorship over other people to decide who's going to be included and who isn't. And of course, the government was there at the beginning, funding through In-Q-Tel, the CIA's venture capital firm, and other means, funding the creation of Google and Facebook, helping to give them a default monopoly, and then standing back and proclaiming innocence as they shut other people down, as the surrogates for the government. They have to go a little bit further. They have to shut down all political debate, do it with algorithms, and then once they do that, then you'll have the hardcore censorship that'll come straight from the government, just like it does in China. But right now, they're using their surrogates. That's the weaponized media. That's the media that doesn't complain when weapons are used against real media, when they're used against people like Owen trying to report on an event. Stay with us. We'll be right back. I'm David Knight. Welcome back. I'm David Knight on this Sunday, December the 10th, 2017. A lot of things have happened in the last couple of days, a lot of fake news coming after President Trump. And we've also had another sexual harassment case, this time coming after a judge in the Ninth Circuit Court, the liberal court that gets overturned more than all the rest of them combined, I believe. I'm just kind of guessing because it gets overturned so frequently. But it's one of the judges there. Unfortunately, he is supposedly the conservative at the court, now being outed for sexual harassment. We'll tell you about that, as well as some updates to the latest sexual harassment circus that is going on in Washington, D.C. Before we do, real quickly, I want to let you know about some of the sales that we have at InfoWarsStore.com. That's what funds this news program, as well as the other programs that we've added. Of course, I have a program Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. in the morning. And Owen Shroyer, we've added a program, War Room, in the afternoon after the 4 hours of the Alex Jones Show, Monday through Friday. That's another 3-hour program. We're able to do that because of your support. And we're proud to offer you products that support your health. So you're able to support free and independent media at the same time you support your health and your family's health. DNA Force is now 33% off at InfoWarsStore.com. It's a great time to stock up on that. That's a big savings, folks, because it's a very expensive product to produce. So the price is high on that, typically higher than most of our other supplements because of BioPQQ. It's a very difficult and expensive ingredient to add. There are a lot of clinical studies. If you go to InfoWarsStore.com, you can read about BioPQQ and find out about the clinical studies that talk about how it preserves your DNA health. And what we're talking about here is a little telomere, the little end cap on the end of your DNA strand. It's one of the things that scientists have found. If they look at that telomere, they can predict your natural lifespan because that gradually decreases over your life. There are some things that will accelerate that. And the absence of some things, as they found from some studies of some Amish people who did not have a protein that makes that disappear, they found that those individuals had a 10-year longer lifespan because that protein did not eat away the telomere. So there are things that you can do, or things that can take away destructive elements in your system that may be there due to hereditary instances or just due to environment. There are things that you can do that can help to prevent or to slow down the erosion of the telomere, because once that comes off, it's just like the end cap off of your shoelaces. Once that comes off, your shoelaces start to unravel, and that's what starts to happen with your DNA as the telomeres disappear. We also have Vitamin Mineral Fusion Drink Mix, 50% off. That's our multivitamin and mineral formula. You don't have to take a lot of pills. You can just put that in a drink mix. Very easy to take. Gives you baseline nutrition. 50% off. That sale is going to be ending very soon. We're about to run out of stock on that, and also on Super Blue fluoride-free products. We have both our toothpaste and our mouthwashes, 50% off at InfoWarsStore.com. And Super Blue does not have fluoride in it, but it does have iodine and nano silver to fight bacteria that leads to gum disease and that leads to tooth loss as well as to heart disease. And it's a great tasting product. We also have a new product that we've introduced, Alpha Power. So take a look at the products that we have at InfoWarsStore.com, and we appreciate your support, especially this time of year. All right, so we've got Al Franken, who resigned last week, or maybe he didn't resign. Who knows? We had a poll up. I put a poll up on Libertarian, my Twitter site, and we had about 11,500 people vote on it. 50% of them think that he's planning on staying. I think he is. I think it's looking to him as well as to other people that Roy Moore is going to win in Alabama. They are now even having their polls come back. This is a headline from The Hill saying, more bumps Jones from the top of an Alabama Senate poll. Jones has never been on the top of any of these Alabama Senate polls. This is one of the most Republican areas, most pro-Trump areas you're going to find. And they're now moving from the push poll stage, where you do polls and you pick the mix of voters, Democrat and Republican, to get the outcome that you want. Then you tell everybody, look, my candidate is winning. So they went through this push poll stage, and now it's not worked. It hasn't worked. They realize it's not working, and they're going into the damage control stage, where they tell people, oh, yeah, we knew that Roy Moore was going to win. And so now this is very telling, I think, when you see The Hill and others start to come out with this. And the fact that he is getting so desperate that he is bringing in Cory Booker and the governor of Massachusetts, Deval Patrick, to campaign for him. After having criticized the Moore campaign for having Steve Bannon come down and call Steve Bannon a carpetbagger. Do you think that the senator from New Jersey and the governor of Massachusetts, as liberal as they are, might be considered to be carpetbaggers by the people in Alabama? This is the desperation of the Doug Jones campaign. And of course, President Trump was at a rally in Pensacola, which is really close to one of the larger cities in Alabama, Mobile, Alabama. He was there. He talked a good deal about Roy Moore and the election in Alabama, had a direct appeal to the voters there. And he's going to be in Alabama campaigning for Roy Moore tomorrow. But I think as Al Franken is looking at this, I think it's very important for him. There was a real revolt building against Al Franken with the women in the Senate, especially the Democrats, especially the women, but it was not just women, but mostly women coming after him. He had to tamp that down, whatever he's going to do, whether he's going to try to have a career, go back to Saturday Night Live, or whatever he's going to do with his life after this. He had to tamp that down, number one. Number two, he never admitted to doing anything wrong. He held a press conference and he criticized President Trump and Roy Moore and said, in the coming weeks, I will be resigning. He didn't resign, and he didn't admit anything wrong. Instead, he called the women who accused him liars. And I'm surprised that there hasn't been more reaction from even the Democrats on this. The fact that he presented himself as a champion of women and said they have a right to be heard, but not to be believed. Not by Al Franken anyway. So I think that he's not simply just staying for the Christmas party. I think he's waiting for Roy Moore to get in and then say, see, you can't throw me out, and I'm staying. When in reality, what is happening is the people in Alabama do not believe the charges against Roy Moore. And we have just had, and we'll talk about this more later in the broadcast, but now Gloria Allred's client, the one with the phony yearbook, came out and said, yeah, some of that I wrote. This is just collapsing on them at the last minute. It's going very badly for them. And so nobody believes those charges. But everybody has seen pictures. They've seen a lot of contemporary charges against Al Franken. A lot of stuff has surfaced from him. There's no question about it with Al Franken. And he's going to try to create an equivalency there. And there you can see these people showing the yearbook. We're going to get back to that in a moment. I want to talk about what's going on in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. As Fox News reported, a prominent appeals court judge of the Ninth Circuit Court has been accused of sexual harassment. He was the former chief judge on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. His name is Alex Kaczynski, 67. He was actually appointed by Ronald Reagan. Somebody on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals was appointed by Ronald Reagan. Imagine that. And he may be a conservative. I don't know. Maybe everybody else is drowning out all of his votes here. But this isn't actually his first rodeo. He has been accused by several women, two women, told the Washington Post that he asked them to look at pornography on a computer in his chambers. But back in 2008, he actually maintained a website with sexually explicit photos and videos. And he got called on it. There was an ethics investigation. And when they looked at this website, he said, I shouldn't have put that up. I'll take it down right away. They go, okay, that's fine. Just be more careful in the future. That's the state of our government. Yeah, just be more careful in the future. Well, I guess he wasn't careful enough, because instead of having this public website, he just kept it on his computer and decided that he would show it to the women who worked for him as they came into his office. And when we look at this, and we look at the fact that we keep hearing that the U.S. House is considering changes to the law that protects the identity of these politicians and pays off the women that they sexually harass. This is, believe it or not, the Office of Compliance, and it was part of the Congressional Accountability Act that they say, well, we can't tell you who these people are. They call it the Congressional Accountability Act. You know, just like we had the Patriot Act, which, and we had the USA Freedom Act, or the Affordable Health Care Act, which was not affordable, didn't have anything to do with health care. And now this is the Congressional Accountability Act, which conceals when these people engage in sexual harassment and pays up to $17 million so far. Welcome back. I'm David Knight. You know, Saul Alinsky and his rules for radicals. One of the rules said, ridicule is the most powerful weapon. And I think that's what's behind a lot of these ad hominem attacks that we see against people in the Trump administration. The most vicious ones coming from Chelsea Handler now, attacking Sarah Sanders, who's the White House press secretary. She's doing a great job. The only thing that they can say about Sarah Sanders is try to destroy her with ridicule. And Chelsea Handler has been all over this. Of course, I don't think that Chelsea Handler probably isn't smart enough to realize, to use Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals as a strategy. I think she's simply looking at this and saying, hey, it worked for Stephen Colbert. His show was failing until he started mocking President Trump and Republicans and Trump voters. Worked for Jimmy Kimmel. It even works for failing Saturday Night Live. They can keep doing the same joke every week with Alec Baldwin, and it never seems to get stale to their audiences. So I guess Chelsea Handler, as she got her Netflix show canceled, as we have seen in the past, that Chelsea Handler will do anything to try to get an audience, including taking her clothes off and admitting, hey, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't want to be famous. And yet she comes after Sarah Sanders and calls Sarah Sanders a whore because of the way she puts on makeup. She doesn't like her makeup. Oh, really? Really? That's Chelsea Handler. So she gets somebody who is a comedian, and I guess the comedian, I use that term in lightly, they would call themselves that. And they do a video now mocking Sarah Sanders putting on makeup, a morbidly obese woman putting on makeup. And here's part of that video. And I want to give you the response of Sarah Sanders' father, Mike Huckabee, after we finish this. It was a masterful and really quite truthful and compassionate takedown. He threw some shade on her that she deserved, but it was very compassionate, really, kind of reaching out to her and talking to other people like her. But let's take a look at the latest hit piece from Chelsea Handler against Sarah Sanders.
Hey y'all, it's me, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Here's my first makeup YouTube tutorial. Woo! Now I like to start with a nice moisturizer. I like to just sop it up here. Right now my skin is dry, just like Puerto Rico right before that one rainy day.
Is this a woman or is this a man? I'm not really sure.
So I'm gonna go ahead and get this moisturizer in my hand. I'm gonna arm on this face right up and just put it all over your face, okay, like gravy. My face is a big fat biscuit. This is a primer that
Isn't
goes
that funny? Are you all rolling on the floor laughing at this comedian, quote unquote?
You can't even see it after you rub it in. It's invisible. Just like the link to sign up for Obamacare. Good luck with that. This is foundation.
Yeah, just like the help I get from Obamacare. It's invisible too.
Of America, it's Republican, it's strong, and it's white. Actually, it looks pretty brown. All right, so you're gonna take this foundation and grab you a beauty blender. Now, this is a beauty blender right here. It may look like a butt plug, but it's not. Stick a beauty blender up your butt once.
Okay, so let's just kind of leave this with the. This is the left, and you want to know why we have so much perversion and sexual harassment there? It's because the women are like that. If that is in fact a woman, I don't know. Scroll a little bit to the end so people can see the end result here of this quote-unquote comedian. Fortune Feimster is the person's name. Not sure if that's male or female, and I'm not sure that that's funny. Certainly isn't funny to me. There we go. That's the end result of this child in front of a camera rubbing makeup all over his or her face to make fun of Sarah Sanders, who is taking down the press every day, left and right, like a boss. And all they can do is try to make fun of her putting on her makeup. Here's what Mike Huckabee had to say. Of course, Sarah Sanders is his daughter. Here's what he has to say when people asked him about that.
Really quickly, though, to another topic, and that is late-night host Chelsea Handler. She, as I'm sure you saw, made, I thought, a disgusting, mocking video of your daughter, Press Secretary Sarah Sanders. And this is my thing, Governor, as you know, I have very little crossover politically with your daughter, but I have to tell you, I think she's doing an incredible job in a very difficult role, and I was sickened by this display of just anti-feminism.
Like backfires on the rest of the stuff that they're doing. Backfires on
Chelsea Handler. What's your reaction as both a politician and also a father?
Well, as a father, you never like to see this kind of stuff on your kids. But, you know, my daughter's an adult. She's lived in the political arena her whole life. She understands it. She gets it. She doesn't particularly like it. But it doesn't get to her like I'm sure Chelsea Handler wishes it did.
Good to hear.
My daughter's a very balanced person. She wakes up every morning to a loving husband, to 3 adorable children whose arms circle her neck. And it's something that gives her a balance that I feel sorry for Chelsea Handler. It's not something she understands. Her vicious attacks are beginning to backfire on her. And, you know, she's called a late-night host. I think it's so late now that she's not on anymore.
Epic shade from Governor Huckabee.
Well, the thing is, she's moving into the realm of Keith Olbermann, where she just no longer, people can take her seriously.
Yeah.
But honestly, I feel sorry for her, and I owe her an apology, because last week, in talking about some other vicious things she said about my daughter, I said, look, she's almost my age. She, you know, she needs to kind of start mellowing out. And then I realized she's nowhere near my age. She just looked like it, and I thought that's unfortunate. And I'm not saying that to be mean, but no, seriously. And I'm trying to be honest here. When people are bitter and they live their lives in anger and hostility toward others, it shows. It takes away a countenance that people need. And I'm not trying to be funny. Honestly, people who are bitter and angry and lash out at others and have no sense of personal balance and joy, it's unfortunate, and that's why I say, with all sincerity, I feel sorry for her. I don't envy her, and I guarantee you my daughter doesn't.
Nope. Mr. Moore.
You know, that's interesting. Hang on, that's that's Gloria Allred. We'll get to that in a moment. Yeah, I was reminded, I can't remember who it was who said it, but there was a wit who once said, by 40, we all have the face we deserve. I think that's what Mike Huckabee was talking about when he said, I thought she was my age. And he was saying the bitterness that is inside of Chelsea Handler just bubbles up to the surface in a very ugly way. She doesn't realize the blessings of life, of a home, a family, of children. And she is viciously striking out. Just as her show was canceled, he pointed out it's gotten so late that it's now disappeared. It is now late as in dead and gone. The Chelsea Handler show that was on Netflix, it's canceled. So this is why she's desperate. She says she's going to focus on politics. I don't know if that's really the focus of what she's doing, but it's backfiring. Just as the attacks against President Trump are backfiring. One of the people responding to Chelsea Handler on Twitter, a lot of people kicked back on her. Said, glad to see how much of a strong feminist you are, Chelsea Handler, by promoting positive body image of other females. Because she said this woman deserves to be taken down. She is pure evil. So she's going to do anything that she can to destroy Sarah Sanders personally. She's not evil. She is able to restore some rationale to these press conferences where it is nothing but weaponized, irrational attacks against President Trump. But anyway, Mike Huckabee is right. These vicious attacks are starting to backfire. And here's another one that backfired. A vicious attack against President Trump, and it was from Dave Weigel, Washington Post reporter. He tweeted out pictures of an empty stadium as President Trump was making his speech in Pensacola, Florida, except that it was simply a hit job. And as Zero Hedge points out, a day after CNN botched their hit job on President Trump and his son, which came a week after the erroneous ABC report on General Flynn sent stocks tumbling, which came a month after Bloomberg's Justin Sink launched Coygate during President Trump's trip to Japan. Then we have this guy, Dave Weigel, tweets out a photo of an empty arena before the Trump rally. It was taken hours before the rally. And of course, there were a lot of people there, and they took pictures of the rally as it was underway. So clearly that was a lie. He got called out on it. He eventually came back and apologized. But President Trump says, why aren't we doing something about this? And why are we, and when we look at the CNN issue, you got Glenn Greenwald out there saying, how did this mistake in the date get past all these different people? They said no action is going to be taken against a CNN reporter who falsely reported this information against President Trump's son. No action will be taken. It was reviewed, and we followed our procedures. All that means is that your corruption and your fake news is systemic. It runs throughout the organization. It wasn't the error of one reporter. We all did that. We all looked over that. We all did our non-diligence on reporting that information. So they own that. They own that. But then, of course, they're saying, wait a minute, President Trump, you shouldn't criticize that guy for putting out a fake picture of your rally and saying that nobody turned up. You're not entitled to do that. That's censoring.